Have you ever noticed how we expect our personalities to undergo a complete transformation the moment we clear customs? As if the miracle of flight includes the even greater miracle of personality transplantation. This is Don't Even Go There. And today, we're examining the curious delusion that a new passport stamp will somehow stamp out our personality flaws. Let's begin with some peculiar travel behaviours we've all witnessed, or perhaps even exhibited ourselves. Observe Brian. He hasn't voluntarily entered a museum since a mandatory school trip in 2007, yet he's suddenly transfixed by 16th century Flemish portraiture the moment he lands in Brussels. At home, he'd sooner watch paint dry than watch people look at paintings. But abroad, he's queuing 45 minutes to see works by artists whose names he'll mispronounce and then promptly forget. Or consider Sarah, who regularly circles her local shopping centre for 20 minutes to avoid a 5-minute walk, yet somehow transforms into an urban hiking enthusiast in Rome. She'll happily march 30,000 steps across uneven cobblestones in punishing August heat, all to see a church she wouldn't dream of visiting if it were in her hometown. What we're witnessing isn't just travel, it's temporary personality replacement. Perfectly normal and even enjoyable until we fool ourselves into thinking it's permanent. This expectation of lasting transformation has a name in psychological circles. It's called the Geographic Cure fallacy. Originally coined to describe how addicts believe moving locations will solve their substance problems, it applies rather perfectly to modern travel psychology. Except we're not trying to outrun addiction. We're trying to outrun ourselves. It's one thing to enjoy being a different version of yourself for a week in Barcelona. It's quite another to expect that version to survive the return flight. That's where the fallacy lies. Personality escapism packaged as permanent character development. We fundamentally believe that in Paris we'll be sophisticated, in Bali we'll be spiritual, in Barcelona we'll be spontaneous, in Japan we'll be mindful. Social media has supercharged this delusion. We carefully curate our travel personas through filtered photos and strategic captions, crafting fictional characters who bear only passing resemblance to our actual selves. Yoga at sunrise photos from people who hit snooze 6 times every workday. Thoughtful museum contemplation shots from individuals whose cultural consumption at home consists entirely of reality television. Glowing reviews of authentic local cuisine from picky eaters who survive on chicken nuggets in their natural habitat. The gap between our home selves and our travel selves has never been wider, or more meticulously documented. The tragedy, or comedy, is how quickly our true selves reassert dominance. The euphoria of geographic displacement typically lasts 72 hours before the familiar personality patterns emerge, now just with better scenery as backdrop. As the ancient wisdom goes, wherever you go, there you are. A rather dismal realisation if you've just spent £2,000 to discover you're the same anxiety-ridden neurotic in Jamaica, just with a sunburn. We're sold the idea that meaningful personal growth can be purchased for the price of an airline ticket, rather than earned through the rather tedious work of actual self-improvement. Revolutionary idea incoming. Perhaps develop an interest in architecture before spending thousands travelling to Rome to pretend you care deeply about Corinthian columns and Borromini's concave convex facades. Let's consider a more thoughtful approach to vacation aspirations. The travellers who get the most from destinations are often those who bring genuine curiosity, rather than expecting the place to install it upon arrival. The most meaningful souvenirs aren't the trinkets or photos, but the habits and perspectives that find their way into your everyday life. That cooking class in Thailand becomes truly valuable when it changes Tuesday dinner at home. In this way, travel becomes less about temporary escape from yourself and more about thoughtful expansion of who you already are. Ultimately, the most meaningful travel experiences often come when we extend our existing passions into new environments, rather than expecting new environments to instill passions we've never had. Perhaps the wisest approach is embracing travel not as transformation, but as revelation. Travel gives us the quiet pleasure of discovering which parts of your personality persist regardless of location, and which parts were merely responses to your environment. Travel then becomes less about becoming someone new, and more about understanding who you already are, a far more valuable souvenir than another airport magnet. The geographic cure fallacy reveals an uncomfortable truth. Changing location is infinitely easier than changing ourselves, but perhaps the most enlightened travellers are those who pack not just their suitcases, but also their self-awareness, recognising that while the scenery will certainly change, they likely won't. This has been Don't Even Go There. And remember, that personality you're trying to escape has already packed its bags, and it's waiting for you at your destination.